At 2 a.m., the quiet of my room was shattered by the ringing of my phone on the bedside table. The screen illuminated with the name Amy, prompting concern at such an untimely call. Swiftly, I answered, "Hello, Amy." However, the voice on the other end belonged not to my daughter Amy, but to Lily. Her tremulous words conveyed distress. "Mom's crying, please help. Dad hit Mom and left." Alarmed and confused, I hastily dressed and headed to my car. Upon entering their living room, I found Amy on the floor, tearful. Lily, who had tried to hold back her tears over the phone, was now sobbing uncontrollably as she opened the door for me. In an attempt to reassure, Amy said, "It's nothing serious." Her cheek bore signs of a recent altercation. Curious about the situation, I listened to Amy's account, feeling a chill down my spine. Holding Lily close and stroking her head, I gently spoke, "The next one who's going to be on the floor crying will be John. Allow me to introduce myself. Michelle, 57 years old, a widow for 2 years, and now living alone. My joys in life include visiting my daughter and son-in-law, a 30-minute drive away, watching my 4-year-old granddaughter Lily grow up, and engaging in stock trading, something my late husband taught me. As I trade, I often consult my husband in my heart, seeking advice on whether to sell or wait. Strangely, following his guidance often leads to profitable outcomes. My daughter Amy, 29, got married 5 years ago, and since Lily's birth, she's been a stay-at-home mother while her husband John, a salesman, struggles financially. Contrary to my initial belief, salesmen aren't as well paid as I thought. John's income is meager, and Amy, trying to balance childcare, household chores, and writing, faces challenges. Despite her efforts, she only manages to earn around $300 a month. John's stringent standards for cleanliness and cooking make things even more difficult. He disapproves of shortcuts and insists on home-cooked meals, limiting Amy's productivity. To support my daughter and granddaughter, I provide financial assistance every month, derived from my hobby earnings. Understanding John's pride, I advised Amy to keep his secret. During my visits, I noticed John's hurried demeanor, quickly showering and leaving after brief discussions with Amy in their upstairs room. John's life as a salesman seemed challenging, and I needed to prepare materials for the next day's work. Despite the demands, he appeared to be doing his best without complaints. As he left in his suit, he apologized for leaving while I was there, promising to return soon. Observing John's departure, I expressed concern, murmuring to myself, "I worried he's going to wear himself out." Amy, giving a wry smile, seemed a bit discontented. Peering into her face, I asked if she was upset because he didn't get to eat the meal she prepared. "It's not that," she replied with a hint of reluctance, explaining that he claimed it was work and couldn't be helped. I'd offered a solution, suggesting that if both her parents were busy and she felt lonely, she could call me. I set up Amy's phone so Lily could easily call me, reassuring her that I could be someone for her to talk to when feeling lonely. Little did I expect this to become useful in such an unexpected way. At 2 a.m., my bedside phone rang, and in my groggy state, I searched for it. Seeing Amy's name lit up, I worried that something might have happened and quickly answered. "Hello," I greeted, but it wasn't my daughter Amy on the line. "Grandma, Mom's crying, help." Lily's voice, on the verge of tears, desperately reached out to me. Confused, I didn't know how to respond when Lily informed me that Dad hit Mom and left. Changing quickly, I jumped into my car and arrived at their house. Lily, who had tried to hold back her tears over the phone, now had red eyes and nose from crying. I patted Lily's head and, with her hiccuping behind me, walked down the hallway. Entering the living room, I found Amy slouched on the floor, crying with disheveled hair and one hand covering her face. The distress not only unsettled Lily, but also deeply disturbed me. Giving her a gentle shake, I asked, "Amy, what happened?" She looked up startled, revealing a troubling situation that demanded immediate attention. "And Mom," Amy murmured, looking dazed, seemingly not understanding why I was there. "Where did he hit you?" "Show me." I gently moved her hand away. The cheek she had been covering was red and swollen. Amy let out a whimper and covered it again. It was just a slap. It's not a big deal, she said, her voice trembling as she tried to downplay it. I couldn't possibly believe it wasn't a big deal. Even if it was just a marital spat, I couldn't fathom that he would hit her hard enough to cause that kind of swelling. What happened? I wet a towel and pressed it to Amy's face. Well, I never told you before, Mom, but it seems like John's been cheating. Amy confessed, her voice heavy with emotion. Cheating? I echoed, stunned by the revelation. Yeah, he told you he was going back to work the other day, but he actually demanded money from me, she explained. How could going back to work require so much money? I accidentally saw the notification on his phone, and the messages were from a woman with sweet words. He's demanded money several times before, that's why I refused today. And then he hit you? I asked, horrified. Yes, and he almost hit Lily too when she tried to stop him. I stepped in, and in the end, he took money from my purse and left. Amy recounted, her voice trembling with fear and anger. Listening to Amy's story, I felt a chill run through my heart as my eyes widened in shock. What shocked me the most was that John tried to hit Lily. I've been wondering if I can continue living with a man like that. Amy confessed, her voice heavy with uncertainty. Lily, clutching my sleeve tightly, suddenly burst into tears, probably recalling the traumatic moment. I was livid. Cheating was one thing, but laying a hand on family was downright despicable. I wanted to shout at him, to ask him if it wasn't a father's duty to protect his family. But preaching to him wouldn't make a dent. If a lecture could reform him, he would have come to his senses the moment he tried to hit Lily and would already be showing remorse. Holding a sobbing Lily close and stroking her head, I said calmly, next time, it's going to be John who's crying on the floor. What? Amy looked at me anxiously. Can you stay with John a bit longer? I'll move in with you. We'll buy a voice recorder and record all your conversations with him, I suggested. But what if he demands money again? He might try to hit Lily, Amy worried. We'll record it when he asks for money. It's okay to give him the money. I'll always be with Lily. We need to gather evidence after all. As long as Lily's safe, I'm okay with it. I reassured her. Amy nodded with the determined face of a mother. Then I took a picture of Amy's face with my smartphone. The swelling would serve as evidence. The next day, I packed up my things and went over to Amy and her family's house. It seems Amy isn't feeling too well, so I'm going to stay for a while and help with household chores and take care of Lily, I announced. At my sudden arrival, John looked surprised and had a guilty expression on his face. We can't trouble you like this, Michelle. I can help around the house and with Lily, he said, his charming nature typical of a salesman. I suppose Lily's quite active, you know. I'd hate to see you get worn out. John expressed genuine concern. That's okay. What I'm really worried about is whether the lunch I make will be enough for you. But keep it a secret from Amy. If you're still hungry, use this to buy something. I discreetly handed John $200. He scratched his head and said, Gosh, I feel kind of bad about this. But he put the money in his pocket anyway. He couldn't object to me staying now. From that day on, whenever John came home, I decided to stay in Lily's room and play with her for at least an hour. I tried to always be with Lily and even took a bath with her. This was to give John a chance to talk to Amy without being wary of me. As soon as we finished taking a shower, we're all done now, John would say with a smile. Guess it's my turn then. Take your time. On the surface, I got along with John, but as soon as he stepped into the bathroom, I checked in with Amy. Did he say anything? I asked. He did. He thought it was odd when you suddenly decided to live with us. So he asked me if you had said something. Amy giggled before continuing. John asked me if I had said anything to you. So I told him about you hitting me yesterday. He went silent, so I said I wouldn't dare say something like that. And then what did he say? Don't tell her about it, or I'll hit you again, Amy revealed. He didn't realize I was recording, so he dug his own grave. Seeing Amy laugh like that was reassuring. She seemed like a completely different person from last night. I hope my presence here can be of some encouragement, I said, and I nodded in agreement. The next evening, while John was in the bath, what we did was check his messages. We were looking for signs of an affair, but to our astonishment, John seemed to have relationships with several women. He has a child, yet he still does this. Amy voiced her disgust under her breath. If he was cheating with women like this, no amount of money, even if he's rich, would ever be enough. Let's meet up, maybe hit that hotel again. Yesterday was awesome. Amy read aloud while slowly scrolling through these messages. I took a video of John's entire smartphone screen. Hold on a minute, is this? Amy paused and stared intently at the screen. The chat displayed the message. Come by my place again next week, Mr. Salesman, dated from the previous week. Amy frowned, especially at the heart emoji at the end of it. It seemed that John was hitting on clients too, leaving us in sheer disbelief. As we looked up at the ceiling, both of us let out a heavy sigh. The next day, we sought legal consultation from a lawyer named Mr. Ramirez. He listened attentively to our story and explained that the video capturing the chat alone wouldn't suffice as solid evidence. Mr. Ramirez advised us to gather pictures of them entering the hotel together, hotel receipts, or credit card statements, pointing to the message that read, "Come by my place again next week, Mr. Salesman." I paused the video we were watching and inquired, "So next week means this week, right? We might still catch them." Deciding to take immediate action, we hired a private investigator, PI, and tasked him with investigating John's activities during work hours, including the time spent at clients' places. 3 days later, the PI provided a detailed report, and we nodded in satisfaction, appreciating his efforts. "Fantastic! Keep up the good work," we told the PI. Armed with evidence of John's infidelity, we began planning a trap for him at home. I withdrew $50,000, some of the money I had earned from stocks, and placed it in a dresser on the second floor of Amy's house, the same guest room where I had been staying. While John was at work during the day, we had been moving our clothes and personal items to my house, preparing for a quick move. The dresser was practically empty already, making the neatly bundled $10,000 bills with bands stand out. We considered that John might have already run out of the $200 I gave him the other day. That dresser was practically empty already. While John was at work during the day, we had been moving our clothes and personal items to my house, readying ourselves for a quick move. With the drawers being empty, the money will certainly stand out. Neatly bundled $10,000 bills with bands will surely catch John's eye, I explained to Amy. I gave John $200 the other day. How long do you think that'll last him? I asked. Amy replied with a tilt of her head. It varies when he asks, but if he thinks you have money too, he might have already run out. Well, the timing might be just right then, I mused as we quietly closed the drawer with the $50,000. That night, as usual, I took a bath with Lily. Just as I began to undress, my phone rang. It was a call from Amy. I had asked her to call me if John ever asked her for money. Telling Lily to wait a moment, I tiptoed up the stairs outside the room I was staying in and eavesdropped. Money again? What are you spending it all on? Shut up, your mom might hear. Just give it to me. You gonna hit me again? If you don't want to be hit, hand over the money. I'm in a hurry, I heard John demanding, followed by a sigh from Amy and the sound of the drawer opening. What though? Why do you have so much cash? I heard John exclaim just as the drawer closed. Swiftly, I slid the room's door open. I'm sorry, Amy John. I was about to take a bath but felt dizzy. Could I lie down for a bit? Are you okay, Mom? I requested, lying down. Amy immediately put a blanket over me, and even the usually smug John clicked his tongue softly and left the room without a word. After a while, I heard John leaving through the front door. We need to hurry, I whispered to Amy. We gathered the money from the dresser, took our belongings, and left Amy's house. The next day, John received a call from Mr. Ramirez, the lawyer. A date was set, and with Mr. Ramirez present, the divorce discussions began. I dialed up John's office and identified myself as his mother-in-law, requesting to speak with the manager. After conveying the matter, I asked them to keep quiet about the conversation until the designated day and hung up. Everything was set. On the day of the discussion, John visited my house. I had told Lily to stay upstairs and not come down. John didn't hide his discontented face, and without greeting me, faced Amy and heavily sat down on the couch. Mr. Ramirez greeted him, handed over his business card, and John hesitated for a moment before nodding in acknowledgement. "So what's this about you wanting a divorce?" John bluntly asked Amy. "Yes, I want a divorce. Also, I like alimony for abuse and child support," Amy asserted. "What? Are you kidding me? You leave the house saying you want a divorce out of the blue. And now you want alimony and child support?" "Mr. Ramirez, she's the one causing all this trouble," John claimed, banging the table and glaring at Amy, turning a frustrated face to Mr. Ramirez. "I have evidence of you cheating and also of the physical abuse," Amy calmly replied. She placed a photo on the table, taken by a private investigator, showing John and another woman exiting a hotel. Following that, I played an audio recording taken on my phone where John admitted to the violence. "Hey, you tricked me, huh? Recording sneaky stuff like this, huh?" John raised his voice, attempting to grab Amy's collar. Both Mr. Ramirez and I stepped in to stop him, and after Mr. Ramirez's stern words, John calmed down and settled back into his seat. While trying to listen to both parties, if this settlement doesn't proceed, Amy is considering filing for divorce or suing. She seems to have her evidence in order and doesn't seem to be backing down. Mr. Ramirez subtly urged John to be reasonable. Lost in thought, John finally spoke up loudly, saying, "But even if it was me who cheated, I still have the right to claim a share of the assets that Amy has, right?" "Yes, if you make the claim," replied Mr. Ramirez. "Then I'm claiming." "Too bad, Amy. I don't have any assets left." "Hand over half of yours," John said smugly. Amy coolly responded, "I don't have any either." "What?" After a long stare at a stunned John, Amy spoke again. "I don't have any property or money." Liar. There was $50,000 in that drawer. "Oh, that's mine." Upon hearing my words, John exclaimed, "What? You see, my mom has been helping me out every month. Even the money I gave to you was from her support. If you divorce Amy, I don't see any reason to help you anymore. In fact, I feel like pressing charges for you hitting my precious daughter." John turned pale, and unfortunately, it seemed more like the shock of not getting any money rather than my words that got to him. But we weren't about to let it end there. Amy placed several more photographs on the table showing John visiting a house while on a sales call. "You were there for an hour and a half. Do sales calls usually take that long? What were you doing inside?" Upon hearing Amy's words, John snorted with laughter, claiming, "Sales involve explaining the product and stuff. Sometimes it takes long. I get asked questions." "Oh, really?" Amy smirked and placed another picture. "So, explaining the product means you got to strip down to your underwear. Must have been a heck of an explanation." In that picture, John stood by the window shirtless, and through the sheer curtain, a woman in lingerie hugging John was clearly visible. "Ugh," John choked on his words, and Amy placed a sheet of A4 paper. "I had a detective keep an investigation going. This is a list of your mistresses. Compare this to your company's client list, and we'll know just how many customers you've been involved with." By now, John was rendered speechless. Just then, the doorbell rang, and I stood up, saying, "Perfect timing." Hearing my words, John whispered, "No way." I thanked the person at the door and led them to the living room. Seeing the person, John screamed in horror, "Boss." Clutching the photos and list from the table to his chest, John cowered on the carpeted floor, apologizing, "I'm so sorry. I'll pay alimony, child support, anything. Please forgive me." Amy and I exchanged glances inside. "It's a shame, but you're too late. We've already made copies of everything, I said. Amy and I presented the photos and list to the boss. As the boss went through them, one by one, speechless, only John's sobbing echoed throughout the room. Unsurprisingly, John got fired. Moreover, he launched a claim for damages for the cancellation of contracts by the company. The mistresses, too, are playing innocent, claiming they were tricked, seduced, or even forced by John alone. It's karma, I think. Of course, Amy's going after him for every penny in alimony and child support. Using Mr. Ramirez as her representative, John couldn't pay everything he owed, and not even his rent. Rumor has it he was evicted from his home. Come to think of it, Amy mentioned seeing him doing some unfamiliar road construction work. He looked like he was about to cry as his younger co-workers yelled at him. As for us, the three of us live happily in my house. Amy started working, and I look after Lily. But I don't find it hard at all. On the contrary, every day is fulfilling. Even though we live together, sometimes Lily calls with Amy's cell phone, saying, "Love you, Grandma." Hearing that cheerful voice